Hi guys, welcome to my channel Creatively Expressive. My name is Amy and today is my third fall DIYs video for 2022. Today I'm sharing 5 fun fall signs that are made using mostly Dollar Tree products. If you love fall as much as I do, then you're going to love these super cute and fun fall signs that you can use to dress up your home this fall season. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you found me. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. And I just want to say that I really do appreciate your continued support. Now let's get started. Alright, so for our first project, we're going to be making this pumpkin spice latte sign, and I'm using some jumbo paint sticks and also some scrap pieces that I have. And then I'm also using this beach sign that I got from the Dollar Tree, and then this coffee cup shaped sign that I also got from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to rip off that that back piece from that coffee cup, and then I'm also going to rip that paper off and I'm going to sand it smooth. And then I'm also going to take that frame off of that beach sign and we're going to save it for later, and then I'm going to rip that paper off of that beach sign and sand that smooth as well. And now I'm just taking some antique wax and I'm going to use that on those paint stir sticks and rub it on with a paintbrush and then rub it off with a baby wipe. And you don't need to cover all of the scrap pieces because they're going to be behind our beach sign, so you're not going to be able to see those. And now I'm just taking some Mod Podge and I'm going to attach this cinnamon colored piece of scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby in a book of solid colored papers to the front of that sign. And then I'm going to use an X-Acto knife to cut off the extra around that sign. And then I'm just going to cover the top of that paper with that Mod Podge as well. And now we have these 3 different scrapbook papers that I got from the Hobby Lobby, and we're going to use them to cover that coffee cup shaped sign. So we're going to trace just the top area of that coffee cup sign onto that polka dot scrapbook paper to look like the lid on the coffee cup. And then we're going to use that pumpkin print scrapbook paper and we're going to trace the entire coffee cup onto that one and then cut that one out. And then we're going to use that corrugated scrapbook paper to be like the sleeve that they put on those coffee cups. And after cutting this out, I thought it was still a little long, so I'm going to make it just a little bit shorter. I think it's about 2.5 inches after I cut off that extra piece. And now we're just going to use some matte Mod Podge and Mod Podge all of those papers onto this coffee cup. So first we'll put the pumpkin print scrapbook paper down. And then we're going to put that polka dot piece of scrapbook paper down for the lid. And then we're going to cover the entire top of that with the matte Mod Podge. And while that Mod Podge is still wet, we're going to use that to stick down that corrugated coffee sleeve onto that coffee cup sign. And then I'm also going to cover that corrugated area with that Mod Podge as well. And then I made this stencil in Silhouette Design Studio and I cut it out on stencil vinyl. And I'm just going to stick it down to that sign. And then first we're going to cover that sign with the Mod Podge. And then there's a little area that bubbled up on me, so I'm just covering that with a little piece of painter's tape. And then once that Mod Podge has dried, we're going to cover that with some white chalk paint. And that Mod Podge, putting that Mod Podge down first just seals in the edges of that stencil so that we don't have any bleed through when we put that white paint on there. And so now I'm just peeling up that stencil now that the white paint has dried. And now we're just going to take those paint stir sticks that we stained with that antique wax earlier and we're going to stick them onto the back of that sign. And I used scrap pieces because I was trying to be cheap, But I would just use the full-size paint sticks and cut those down to size. And I cut them about a 1/2 inch longer than that beach sign. But since mine have those grooves in them and I'm trying to stick them together, I didn't put them on exactly straight. And so I have to end up removing them. And I had used hot glue, so it was a little difficult. So now I'm just going back in with wood glue and adhering them so that I have more time to move them around if I get them on their crooked again. But I would suggest just taking your paint stir sticks and taping them together with some painter's tape and then gluing the sign to the front of those paint stir sticks instead of doing it the way I am, where I'm sticking them on the back of the sign. Because I also didn't get it completely centered. And so I end up going back in and cutting it down later because it looks way off. And now we're just going to take this little wood pumpkin that has a clothespin on the back of it that I got in a pack of 6 from the Dollar Tree. And I just removed that clothespin from the back of that pumpkin. And then we're going to take some white chalk paint and we're going to outline the lid on that coffee cup with a fine detailed paintbrush. And now I'm going to take pumpkin orange, moss green by Waverly, and then chestnut brown by Apple Barrel, and we're going to paint this little pumpkin. And so I'm just painting the pumpkin area with that pumpkin orange chalk paint. And then we're going to paint that little leaf with that Waverly moss green chalk paint. And then we're going to outline that little stem and paint that in with that chestnut brown color. And now I'm going back in with some Waverly Moss chalk paint that's mixed with white and just putting the little veins on the leaf and then also outlining that leaf with that lighter shade of green. And now I'm mixing that chestnut brown with a darker brown to get a darker shade so I can outline that stem. And then I took that pumpkin orange and mixed it with the chestnut to get a darker shade of orange. And I'm just outlining the segments on that pumpkin with that darker orange. And see, now I see that my sign is way off on there, so I had to cut it down on the side and then the bottom, and then a little bit on that side too, because it was a little crooked. So now I'm just staining those edges that were cut off with that antique wax. And then we're just going to glue that frame back onto the front of our sign. And then I'm just using some weights to weight it down while it dries. And then I'm just using some gel super glue from the Dollar Tree and then also some hot glue to glue that pumpkin onto the little sleeve area on our coffee mug. And then I'm also using that same gel super glue and the hot glue to glue that coffee mug down to the front of our sign. And that's it, guys. What do you guys think? I think this one turned out really, really cute. I had a bit of issues with that frame area, but all in all, I think it turned out really nice. What do you guys think? And now for our second project, we're going to be making this pumpkin pie sign. And I got this pumpkin pie piece from the Dollar Tree, and then I got this sign from Goodwill for $1.50. And I'm just going to take the front of it was like a paper on the front of that sign. I'm taking that off and then sanding it smooth. And then I'm just going to pull that hanger off of the back of that pumpkin. And now we're just going to paint that sign. First I used Ivory by Waverly. And I have had so many issues with this color of paint by Waverly. Whenever I use the Ivory color by Waverly, it cracks on me. So I painted this sign with that ivory color first and it started cracking. So now I'm trying to use an antique white, but I thought it was a little bit dark. So now I go back in with vanilla ice cream, I think it's called, by Apple Barrel, and I end up covering the whole sign with that color. And now I designed this stencil in Silhouette Design Studio, and I'm cutting it out on stencil vinyl, and then I'm going to stick it onto the front of my sign, and I'm using parchment paper so I can get it placed right before it's stuck onto my sign. So I get it centered on there, and then I stick down that top area, and then I pull out that parchment paper. And now I'm going to paint over the top of that stencil with that vanilla ice cream color, the whole thing, just to seal the edges of that stencil, so once I use my actual paint colors that I want to use, that I have no bleed through. So I'm just covering the edges and then also the words on that stencil. And now I'm taking the color Brown Oxide by Apple Barrel, and I'm going to paint the frame area of that sign with that brown oxide. And I'm just going to paint enough coats until it's a nice solid brown. And I'm painting the front and then also the sides of that sign. So it's going to look like a frame. And now I'm mixing some white with that brown oxide, because I was trying to get a lighter shade of brown, but I don't really like the way that it turned out. So now I'm adding some pumpkin orange to that color and mixing that in there as well. And then we're going to use that color to paint over that ampersand symbol. And then I'm just going to take that pumpkin orange and I'm going to paint over that eat and that drink with that pumpkin orange. And then we're just going to peel up our stencil. And now that we've peeled up that stencil, we're just going to glue that little pumpkin onto that empty space on our sign with some gel super glue from the Dollar Tree and then also some hot glue. And once our pumpkin's on there, our sign reads, "Eat, drink, and give thanks." And that's it, guys. What do you guys think of this project? I think this one is super cute. And now for our third project, we're going to be making this round pumpkin sign. And I'm using this round sign that I got from the Dollar Tree. And then also one of these pumpkins from this hanging sign that I also got from the Dollar Tree. And we're just going to peel off the paper off of that sign and then also off of that pumpkin, and then we're going to sand it smooth. And then I'm going to fill in that hole with some caulking. And then let that dry. And then I'm just showing you the difference between the pumpkin that I sanded smooth and the original pumpkin. And now I'm just taking that pumpkin and I'm going to trace it onto the back of some scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby, and then cut that out. And then we're just going to Mod Podge, oops, I'm getting ahead of myself. I designed the stencil and I'm going to share it with you guys, and it fits perfectly onto that pumpkin from the Dollar Tree and then also that round sign that we got from the Dollar Tree. So I'll share that with you guys so that you guys can use that as well. And so I'm just weeding that stencil that I made for that little pumpkin. And then now I'm just going to Mod Podge that paper onto the front of that pumpkin. And then after I have it stuck down, I'm going to apply another coat of Mod Podge over the top of that paper. And then we're just going to stick that stencil onto the front of that pumpkin. And I'm just using some parchment paper so I can get it placed right before it's stuck on there. And now we're just going to cover over that entire stencil with that Mod Podge, just to seal in the edges of that stencil so that we don't have any bleed through once we apply our paint. And then I'm using some melted chocolate by Apple Barrel, and I'm going to cover that entire pumpkin with that melted chocolate and just paint enough coats so it's a nice solid dark brown. And then we're going to weed up that stencil. And look at how cool it's looking already, guys. I think this is so neat. Aww. And see here, I'm just showing you the original from Dollar Tree and then mine. And now we're taking this piece of scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby, and we're going to Mod Podge it onto the front of that round sign. So I just apply Mod Podge and then I just smooth that out over that. And then we're just going to take some scissors and cut off the excess paper off around the edge of that sign. And then I'm going to apply another coat of Mod Podge over the top of that paper. And then I'm also applying another coat of Mod Podge over the top of that pumpkin just to protect that painted area that we painted on there. And now I'm going to go in with my little finger sander and I'm going to sand the edges smooth on that sign so that the paper is completely flush with the edge of that sign. And now we're just going to weed out the rest of that stencil that I designed. And this part of the stencil is going to fit on that round sign. And then we're just going to put it on there with some transfer tape and then some parchment paper. And the parchment paper is so that we can get it centered on there before it sticks on there. So you just get it centered the way you want and then you remove that parchment paper. And now we're going to go in with some Mod Podge just to seal on the edges of that stencil so we don't have any bleed through. And once that Mod Podge is dry, we're going to go in with that melted chocolate color by Apple Barrel, and we're going to cover the wording on the sign with that melted chocolate color and paint enough coats so that it's a nice solid brown. And then we're going to use that pumpkin chalk paint color and we're going to paint over the leaves on that stencil with that pumpkin orange chalk paint color. And then we're just going to remove our stencil. And then we're just going to use some of that gel super glue from the Dollar Tree and then also some hot glue to glue that pumpkin in the center of our sign. And then I thought the sign wasn't quite substantial enough, so we're going to take this wood round that I found at the Dollar Tree and I'm going to use some antique wax to stain that wood round. And then I just apply that with a paintbrush and then I just wipe it off with a baby wipe. And then I'm just going to use some jute twine and I'm going to thread it through those holes and it's going to come out on the front of our sign. And once I have that jute twine in there, I'm going to glue the smaller circle to the front of that larger circle. And I just get it placed in the center and then set it aside to dry. And I just put a heavy book on it. And now that it's dry, we're going to tie some knots on the front of that sign. And so I tie a little knot and it's too small. So then I take that extra string that's left over and I just wrap it around that knot. And I use a low temperature hot glue gun just to wrap it around that knot just to make the knot more substantial. So I just wrap it around and then just put little dabs of hot glue on there so it sticks down. And so we have this cute little knot on the front of our sign instead of a little tiny knot. And I just do that on both sides. And that's it, guys. What do you guys think? I think this one is so cute and I love that little pumpkin. I love how that turned out with that stencil. And I'm going to share that with you guys. And now for our fourth project, we're going to be making this cute pie company sign. And I'm using this little cherry pie hanger that I got from the Dollar Tree. And then also this hot apple cider sign that I also got from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to sand off that glitter and the wording off of that little banner area that's on that sign. And once I have that sanded smooth, I'm going to remove that from the rest of the sign. And then we're going to rip the paper off of that sign and sand that smooth as well, and then fill in the holes with some caulking. And then I got these 3 wood rectangular signs from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cut off the area that has the holes in it where the hanger was. And then I'm going to take some antique wax and I'm going to stain each of these sign pieces. So I just paint that antique wax on with a paintbrush and then wipe it off with a baby wipe. And we're just going to stain all 3 pieces. And now I'm going to take that, that main sign piece and we're going to paint it with some white chalk paint. And then we're going to use some ruby red chalk paint and paint that little banner area that was on that sign with that red. And then I also designed a stencil that fits perfectly on this Dollar Tree sign that I will also be sharing with you guys. And so I'm just cutting out that banner area of the stencil and then we're going to weed that. And then we'll apply it to that red painted banner that we painted previously. So I'm just sticking it on there with parchment paper and transfer tape. And once we have that on there perfectly, we're going to remove that transfer tape. And here I'm just super excited that it worked and that it fit perfectly on the banner. And now I'm just taking some ruby red chalk paint and I'm going to go over that stencil with that same red color. And then we're going to set that aside to dry. And I'm just cutting that stencil in half so it's easier for me to place onto the sign since it had a big hole in the center of it. So I'm placing that top piece onto the top of the sign. And then that bottom piece I placed onto the bottom of the sign. And then I just covered that stencil with the white chalk paint. And then we're going to set that aside to dry. And now we're just covering that banner area with white chalk paint. And then we're going to peel that stencil up. And when I peeled up that stencil, it peeled away some of that paint off of that banner. So we're just going to go back in with a little fine detailed paintbrush and just fill in those areas that were peeled up. And now we're going to use some ruby red chalk paint and then also I think it's brown oxide. And so we're painting some of the wording with that ruby red chalk paint and then the rest of it with that brown color. And you just paint enough coats so it's nice, solid. You have nice, solid coverage. And then we're just going to peel up that stencil. And now we're just going to glue all of our pieces together. So first I'm going to use some painter's tape and I'm going to stick it to the back of those 3 pieces of stained wood. And this is what I should have done with that first pumpkin spice sign. This is what I was saying that I would do if I did it again. So I just put some painter's tape on there so that they stay together. And then we're going to glue that sign to the front of those pieces instead of gluing those pieces to the back of the sign, if that makes sense. That way it's easier to get your sign centered onto your back pieces. So I'm just using wood glue and then also some hot glue to do that. And see, now I can see that it's centered before I stick it on there. And now I'm using some wood glue and also some hot glue to glue that little cherry pie to the bottom corner of our sign. And then we're going to glue that little banner into the middle of that sign. And we're just going to use some wood glue and then also some hot glue to do that. And that's it, guys. What do you guys think? I love the brown and the red together. I think it's so pretty. What do you guys think? And now for our last project, we're going to be making this pumpkin patch sign. And I'm using some more of those little pumpkins that had the clothespins on them. And then this little wood truck that I got from the Dollar Tree. and then also these long rectangular signs that I got from the Dollar Tree. And so I cut those signs in half the long way, and then we're going to peel off that paper and then sand those smooth. And then I was trying to figure out what shade of gray would match best with this peel and stick wallpaper that I found at the Dollar Tree. So you can see all my attempts. I finally settled with pewter gray mixed with some black. And I'm just painting the edge of those pieces because we're going to put that peel and stick wallpaper on there. So, and it's a little bit thinner than my sign pieces are. So I just wanted that paint just around the edges so that any of the paint that shows through will just blend in with that peel and stick wallpaper. And so I'm just going to cut that peel and stick wallpaper apart where the lines are on that wallpaper. And our sign is so long that I have to use 2 pieces of that peel and stick wallpaper. So I'm just sticking the one piece right in the middle of that sign piece and then sticking it down. And then we take our other piece and stick it on the other half of that little sign piece. And you just match up the ends. And you can't even tell that it's 2 pieces the way that they designed that wallpaper. And so I just do this with each of my sign pieces, and I'm just staggering the pieces on each of those sign pieces so that it looks more natural, like natural wood, I guess. Like what is it called? Shiplap? So that the lines aren't all like the same across the sign, if that makes any sense. And then I just remove those clothespin pieces from those pumpkins. And now we're just going to stick our sign pieces together with some painter's tape. And then I have this 1/2-inch poplar wood dowel that I got from Lowe's. They're $2.50 each for a 36-inch long dowel. And so I'm measuring my pieces so that I can cut them down to be a frame. And then I also took some painter sticks and I cut them the same length as that sign, and then I'm just going to glue those onto the back of that sign with some wood glue and some hot glue. And then I'm also going to use my miter shears and cut them at a 45-degree angle and stick those on the corner, each corner of that sign. And I did the long pieces to make my sign sturdy and so it's stuck together. And then also to give me more area to glue my frame onto. So I'm just sticking those corner pieces down with that wood glue and that hot glue as well. And see, it just gives me more area to put glue on so that I can glue that frame on there because those sign pieces are so skinny. But I'm sure I give my husband a headache the way I did this. But this is the way it made sense to me, so that's the way I did it. So now I'm just mixing that pewter gray with some black, and then we're going to paint our frame pieces with that color. And I'm just applying that Starbond glue to the edge of that sign and then also those paint stir sticks. And then we're just going to glue our frame on. And then I'm just using some accelerator that's also by Starbond just to get that glue to dry faster. And so we just put all the frame pieces onto the edge of our sign. So you do one top piece, then one side piece, then the bottom piece, then the other side piece. And now I have this vinyl that I designed in my Silhouette Design Studio that I'm going to stick onto my sign. So the bottom part says hay rides, corn maze, cider, and fresh pie. And then the top area is going to say pumpkin patch, pick your own. And now we're painting this truck with some Caribbean blue. First I painted it aqua blue, but I thought it was too light, so I'm going back in with some Caribbean blue, and I think that ends up being the perfect color. And then we're just going to paint the little tires on our truck with black paint by Apple Barrel, and then the center part of that, I don't know what that thing is, that wood area on the truck. And then we're going to paint the wood area with some brown oxide, I think. And then we're painting the hubcaps with some gray. And now we're just going to take a bunch of different shades of blue and then also some white. And we're just mixing all the different shades of blue. Like I have a aqua sky that I'm mixing with the Caribbean blue, and then like I think it's Laguna blue with that Caribbean blue, and then also some white with that Caribbean blue, just to give us a bunch of different shades of blue so that we can do some shadowing and some highlighting on our truck. And I'm just using this calendar piece that has a picture of a truck that has the highlights and the shading on it for inspiration as I'm painting. And I'm just dipping my paintbrush into that darker area for shading, and then also I dip it back into that original Caribbean blue just to blend out that darker color. So I put some of that dark on, and then I go back in with that Caribbean blue, and it blends it out so you don't have like a harsh line. And I just keep going and just keep playing with it until I think it looks good. And it's not going to look exactly like that calendar picture, but I'm just using that as inspiration just so I know where the shadow goes and where the highlights go. So I just dip it in that dark color, and then you dip it into that original color just to blend out that paint. And you want to keep the paint wet while you're doing this. And then for the highlighted areas, you do the same thing. You dip your paintbrush into that lighter shade of blue and put it down where you want your highlights, and then you put it back into that original Caribbean blue just to blend it out. And now I'm just taking that Laguna blue by itself and adding some more shadows because I didn't think that darker shade of blue that I mixed up was dark enough. So I'm just putting that Laguna blue on there and then dipping it into that Caribbean blue and blending it out. And I probably spent like a good hour on this, and I just kept playing around until I thought it looked good. So I couldn't show you guys the whole thing because that would be a really long video. And now we're just going to mix some black paint with that brown oxide that we used on that wood area of our truck. And I'm just going to make a darker shade of brown and dry brush that over that. And then we're going to take some khaki and mix that with that brown oxide to get a lighter shade of brown. And then we're going to dry brush that over that wood area also. And for our tires, we're going to mix some elephant gray with some black. We're just dipping our paintbrush into both of those colors just to add some highlights to our tires. And then we're going to take some granite gray and then also that elephant gray to paint highlights onto our hubcaps on our tires. So I'm just mixing those two colors together just to add highlights over those hubcaps. And now we have this little piece of wood that came in a pack from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just cutting it down to fit that back area of that truck. And I'm mixing some Caribbean blue and some Laguna blue together, and I'm just going to paint that wood piece. And we're going to glue it to the back of that truck to fill in those holes that they had on that truck. And then we're just going to use some gel super glue and some hot glue to glue that piece on. And then with that leftover piece of wood, we're going to cut that in half. And then we're going to glue those onto the other sides of the truck with that gel super glue and then also that hot glue. And now we're just going to take 3 of those little pumpkins that we removed the clothespins from. And I'm going to paint one of them with that pumpkin orange, one of them with pumpkin orange mixed with some light yellow, and then one of them mixed with that pumpkin orange and some brown, just to get 3 different shades of orange for our pumpkins. And then I'm painting the leaves. 2 of them I painted with that Waverly Moss, and then one of them I painted with Waverly Moss that was mixed with the white color, just to give us some variation in colors for those 2. And then I'm just painting the stems with the brown color, and then I mix that brown with the little black to get a darker shade of brown to outline the stems. And then I'm mixing that moss green with some brown just to get a darker shade of green, just to put some veins on our leaves. And then I'm just mixing that pumpkin orange with some brown just to get a darker shade of orange, just to paint the segments onto our pumpkins. And so for each pumpkin, since they're different shades, I add a little bit more brown to that pumpkin orange. And then I also made a lighter shade of orange to add little highlights to the pumpkins. And I'm just adding some Sunny Day, I think it's called, to that pumpkin orange, just to get lighter shade of orange to add the highlights. And then I place that truck on there, and then I place those pumpkins where I want them to be. And then I'm just going to glue them down with some super glue and then some hot glue. And for that center pumpkin, I cut a little piece of a craft stick, since that center pumpkin is going to be raised a little bit, and I glue it onto the back of that center pumpkin so that it has an area that will stick to the sign. And then I use some Star Bond super glue just to glue that center pumpkin down. And now that my pumpkins are down where I want them, I'm going to glue that truck on. And we're just going to put the super glue and the hot glue on those wood pieces that we glued onto the back of that truck, because that's the only area that's going to be touching our sign. And that's it, guys. What do you guys think? I love this one. I think it is so cute, and I love those little pumpkins just peeking out of the back of that truck. What do you guys think? Okay guys, that's it for today's video. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please leave me a quick comment and let me know which one of these signs was your favorite. Those likes and comments really do mean a lot to me, because they let me know that I'm doing a good job, and they also let YouTube know that you're enjoying my content and helps my videos get seen by more people, which really does help out my channel a lot. So like, comment, and share this video with anyone that you think will enjoy it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Guess what, guys? I got my hair cut. Finally. I know it's kind of short, but it'll last me a lot longer than if I just got a little cut off. And I don't like getting my hair cut, so it works for me. Five fun what? 5 fun fall signs. 5 fun fall signs. Say that. It's like a tongue twister. 5 fun fall signs. 5 fun fall signs. 5 fun fall signs. Does that sound good? 3rd fall DIYs video. My 3rd, I don't know what else to say. 3rd fall DIYs. 3rd, 1, 2, 3, I don't know. Things that are, today is my 3rd. It's my 3rd. It's my 3rd. It's my 3rd. a lot to me because they let me know that I'm doing a good job. Okay guys, that's it for today's video. My content, which helps and helps people, which really does help out my channel. So if